Welcome to the Global Investor Podcast, a show that focuses on helping foreign investors enter the lucrative U.S. real estate market. Host Charles Carillo combines decades of real estate investing experience with a professional background in international banking to interview experts in all areas of U.S. real estate investing. Now, here's your host, Charles Carillo.
Welcome to another episode of the Global Investors Podcast. I'm your host, Charles Carillo. Today we have Peter Badger and Karen Williams. They co-founded the Global Investor Academy to help people obtain their mindset, strategies, and tools to create recurring income from global real estate investing. Peter spent 25 years on Wall Street and in Silicon Valley, while Karen spent 20 years in management consulting and corporate sales training. Today, real estate investing and education is your full-time endeavor. So thank you very much for being on the show with us today.
Hi, Charles. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Very good.
So you have quite the business and quite the corporate background, which we see once in a while with the investors coming into real estate. And how did you guys make the shift or start investing in real estate?
Yeah, so we met, 6-7 years ago at business school, and we were actually doing independent investing at the time in single-family homes. So we've actually had a bit of a wild journey in those, meager beginnings, because everybody has to start somewhere. In single-family homes, investors get their head around, it's a simple asset class. You have a home, you can get your head around getting another home to rent to somebody else. But once we started joining forces, we bought 24 single-family homes across Texas, Florida, Pennsylvania in less than 18 months. And so it was actually a bit of a crazy journey. But that was our initial foray.
Yeah.
And then we kind of got stuck with scaling issues because, as you can imagine, we had income to support ourselves, but that became a massive headache. And I think we kind of were rookie investors on the single-family home front because we didn't realize that we could have bought a single multifamily building with 24 doors with the effort of one single-family home in terms of closing it. So it was a bit of a brutal beginning, actually.
A lot of lessons learned through that process, though. I mean, every road has its reason.
No, and so actually what happened was we kind of kept going to meet people like yourself, Charles, and somebody pointed out that it was a bit of a folly of a strategy. So we started getting into multifamily. So we bought a couple of buildings, 7-unit, 12-unit, actually near you in Tampa, Florida, metro area. And then we started just expanding to asset classes because once you get into real estate, you realize there's pros and cons to every type of real estate asset class. And so we also wanted something counter-cyclical. So we bought a mobile home park in Illinois. Because obviously when the market crashes, everybody goes from A-class properties to B, B to C, etc. And everybody comes out the bottom into mobile home parks, which become very valuable during a downturn. So we kind of went down that path for a while. And then our next one was farmland.
Well, everybody has to eat, so farmland was something. I grew up on a farm, actually, in both Oregon and in Pennsylvania. And so definitely there has been a trend of people caring more about what they eat. That's always been that way in Europe, a little bit less so in America, the very fast food culture. But clearly we've seen it with the Whole Foods and the Sprouts and the Trader Joe's and all these stores that people are caring more and more about where their food comes from. And so South and Central America is really untainted, untouched land in terms of its organic qualities, richness of the soil, plentiful water sources. And so, we thought, well, this makes sense. Everybody's got to eat. The population is growing. Farmland, it's another real estate-backed, hard asset-backed investment class. And and we really love it because it's absolutely fascinating. And it's one of those industries that's just really growing, evolving, and changing. The amount of tech now used in ag is, a huge shift in that industry. So we were personally excited about it. We like to invest in things that we feel personally connected to.
You guys are truly diversified real estate investors, because you'll see, when I talk to investors, they'll say, oh yeah, we're diversified. We have 5 different apartment buildings and we go C and we go B. And you guys are going...
But here's the thing, because it's all about sophistication of asset class. Because think about it, single family home, you got a roof, all the structure to support, air conditioning unit, water heater. You go to multifamily, you've hopefully scaled a bit, so you've got some centralized
processes,
capability,
systems, and
And then with mobile home parks, you got a pad. There's actually no more homes, hopefully, to maintain. You're just selling a bit of concrete with some utility hookups. Then some guy in an investor meeting said, you guys are idiots. He said, why maintain all this physical stuff? Because when you actually plant avocado, mango trees, whatever the crop is, on a piece of land, you plant it once, it produces full harvest in 1 to 5 years, depending on the crop type. Then it prints for 60 to 80 years. So it's an annuity. And there's no air conditioning that goes wrong, Yeah, you've got different risks, farming risks around disease, water, other stuff which you can manage just like you can on the other side.
It's trash and toilets.
But you soon realize actually there's asset classes which are a lot less hassle than others to make a diversified portfolio make sense,
Okay. And one of the things too is, do you guys still own your mobile home park, and how do you do the management on that? You have someone on site that handles that?
Yeah, so we've always had property managers. So we're kind of hands-off investors. We obviously work out what to buy. And we'll go through that in a second, actually. We've kind of gone from having a lot of titled properties personally to more of the syndication route because of that,
So what are you guys syndicating currently? Are you syndicating in all the different asset classes you've previously mentioned?
Well, we still have a mobile home park operation going on. We have a real estate development effort that's in Reno, Nevada, Sparks, Nevada, around where a lot of tech is moving out of San Francisco into Nevada because of the state tax issues and such, and Tesla battery factory there. And so there's a lot of growth in that environment and the need for executive homes. We also have like a boutique hospitality and hotel type play that is in Puerto Rico. Most of the farming deals that we're in are syndicated. And I think that's all of the syndications right now, but like a real estate, kind of basically community development effort of like executive homes, the mobile home parks, the farmland.
Yeah, and big multifamily projects.
And big multifamily projects, that are, on a large scale, like a couple hundred units being upgraded, refreshed, forced value add, and then flipped or held on, depending on where the market ends up going for us. But we really found, like, for ourselves, after having, like Peter talked about, starting with the single family homes and even with property managers, finding good ones like Dan are needle in a haystack, right? And so it still can be a lot of hassle, a lot of work just managing the managers, especially if you have them spread across the country. And so since our mission has been kind of helping other people that were like us, ex-corporate 9 to 5, to get to sort of their nirvana lifestyle and out of the rat race that they're in sooner, we're like, okay, well, time. Everybody only has so much time. When you do the syndicated investments, yes, there's the upfront time of analyzing the investment, but you'd have that anyway if you were holding title to the property. But when you get in the syndication, you've already got the legal structure that protects you there in that syndication effort. And it truly is, do the analysis, make your bet on the industry, the project, the team, and then, kind of receive the updates and check in with the management about what's going on. But they're all pretty proactive about keeping their investors. They're sophisticated operations, and it becomes much more hands-off, like a stock market investment would be, or a mutual fund thing, where that's what people are kind of used to, right? Their focus of their time right now is maybe elsewhere on their career, their family, but they want to be building that ramp. And so we just felt this was the best passive and protected way to do it, actually.
So where do you guys find most of your investors? You spend most of your time in Europe. Is that correct? Do you live in the UK?
No. So we've
evolved.
We kind of follow the seasons.
Okay.
So we've been nomading for around 3 years now. Actually, we're here at our home in Puerto Rico, and have other locations in various parts, Europe, Central South America.
Okay, so you guys are to Europe to back and all. Okay, that's great. Do you find most of your investors are U.S. based, or are they international? Do you have global?
They're global. So we have a bunch of U.S. investors, obviously, because it's an easy thing in terms of tax advantages.
Yeah.
But then we have people in, UK, Canada, across Europe,
Australia, clearly
Colombia,
English speaking,
Panama. They're all over the world.
So I would say predominantly U.S. based, to answer your question directly, Charles, but that is growing as more and more people. And because we focus on global assets, we end up meeting other people that are like, well, I'd like to get involved in that. we started with the U.S. market because it's a big market, right? And having come from that environment, and lots of the real estate meetups and those sorts of networks, we understand how they think, kind of what they understand at this point, where they need to go. But more and more, we're finding a lot of global investors interested because they see that we're looking at a global realm of investments. So it applies to them too. And English speaking, obviously from the US to UK, Canada, Australia makes sense because we're English speaking, but we have a vision to be able to advance this. There's a lot of growing middle class in Central and South America where we find a lot of our investment opportunities, and we would love for them to rise up in this capacity as well.
Yeah, that's great. And that's kind of going into our next question. But the thing is that just quickly, what do you find that your international investors are interested in investing into? So when you speak to someone, say they're based outside the United States, are they interested in farmland? They're interested in apartments? They're interested in...
It's the whole gamut, because really we take them through build a diversified portfolio, a baseline of good investments in the US, because it's an amazing market, and then wrap it up with some diversification in Central, South America and Europe that is supposed to give you like country and currency diversification. Because ultimately in our lifetime, if the US dollar topples quite hard, which is high given the debt we're actually holding as a country, then we're okay because we have in other countries, Central, South America and Europe, that can support us theoretically. So
for your investors, when you come in, you kind of put together a whole plan for them. That's great. Yeah, that's awesome.
And I mean, it's consistently, they are interested in yield, diversification of risk, and enhancement of lifestyle.
Yeah. So they're looking for just kind of like what you guys were going from single family to multifamily, kind to cut down on that asset management portion of your time and spending more time doing things you want, which is kind of the whole reason we're all getting involved in this.
It's also about lifestyle. I mean, so a little example. So we own part of syndication a coffee farm, in Colombia.
Oh,
so this
cool.
is our coffee from our farm.
Awesome.
So people want to not only invest in things that produce high yield, basic necessities that made a profit to support their lifestyle, but to go and visit the farms. So, it's a nice double whammy, really.
We seem to attract kind of multicultural couples that are maybe one or the other is Canadian or American, but they're married to somebody who's from, Colombia or Italy or, Argentina. And they have this sort of, fused together, very global mindset. And as they build enough financial wealth to do so, they want travel and adventure. And they look at their investing as kind of a part of that journey that builds their wealth and builds the richness of their life and their experiences.
So how do you guys find your investments? Because it's not just like finding an apartment building and you talk to someone at Marcus and Millchap and find a coffee farm in Colombia. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's so honestly, it's networking, it's travel. So we love global travel. We probably lived part-time in 17 towns and cities the past 3 years. And we basically land in a place, Airbnb for 6 weeks, and we network in real estate and get to know the area and meet people. And, when you're a full-time investor, like we are in real estate, it's just amazing. People start coming to you and get connected to you as part of that journey. So it's a lot of legwork, to be honest with you. It's exhausting.
I imagine when people come to you and you already have the lifestyle that they're envious of, that they've been working so long for, and then you tell them your lifestyle, and then they probably, the next question is, how can I do the same thing? Or how can you teach me? Or what do you have for me to invest into? Yeah,
it's funny. We have some investment providers who are also investing in some of our other deals because they're seeing other yields from their own portfolio.
Right. So. Like they work in one asset class, but they're saying, I like that whole diversification idea. I don't want all my eggs in one basket, especially if they are a syndicator or an operator, but they're working in just one asset class where they have the expertise. They want to still branch out their own personal investments.
What are your investments in farmland right now? What are they? You said coffee, and what else do you have currently or you're looking at?
Yeah, we have coffee. We have a sort of mixed use investment that's cattle, coconuts, and teak, which is like a novelty that I don't think we'll ever see again. We have a new one in lime that's coming out. And that's also the farm deals. What's interesting about the investing in farmland is it's almost beyond just investing in farmland. It's really investing in agribusiness that's backed by the hard asset of the farmland. So should things go awry, right, you have plenty of value behind the company. But it's more than just the growing. It's the growing, it's the harvesting, it's the processing, the packing, the distribution channels, the wholesales and distribution worldwide to Europe, to Asia, to America, to the South Americas. All of these markets are very different. So we're finding that the agribusiness is like this, it's this amazingly rich and evolving asset class that, again, we all need to eat. Yeah. And it's interesting to see the ways you can de-risk the investment by all the different layers of kind of hard assets backing that investment. So you're owning a piece of the land, a piece of the developed packing facility, perhaps. You've got the established channels of distribution. They have a brand, the one company called Ladonna, where they have all their tropical fruits under this one brand. So every time they bring in a new project to the fold, they already have a piece of the puzzle or several pieces of the puzzle in place. So once you make inroads into the food distribution process, which in Europe tends to be centered around Rotterdam, and then dispersed out from there. Well, once you have those relationships in place, every other project that you go into gets to leverage off the back of that.
Yeah, that was one question I had with the brand. So say with the cocoa farm, when you had the coffee right there, how does that, so when you're investing, are you actually, you're going to sell the beans to a producer, or you're going all the way where you're going to farm it, you're going to package it, you're building a brand?
In this case, the Colombian deal has certain characteristics. So firstly, we got in very cheap because Colombian peso has been down 40% in the US dollar. So you're buying these coffee farms, which are struggling.
Yeah, it's like a distressed asset. So think of the value add concept in multifamily, you're getting it at a discount.
And then what we're doing basically is we're bringing multiple farms together to get some scale. And then there's something, in the case of Colombia, there's actually a Colombian Coffee Growers Association, and the government buys the beans off all the farmers because it's kind of like, it's like all farming in Europe and the US. The government supports a base price, often the commodity price. And so the worst case scenario in our business deal is that we sell to the Colombian government. Best case is you start to take containers to North Korea, China. We have some outlets now. But then more importantly, South Korea. That'd be interesting. Not sure if we get any more.
That's a whole different episode.
Yeah. That's right.
We'll discuss that in my Tanzania investment. And so the other piece is then we actually take container loads and we sell them to bespoke coffee roasters in the US and Europe, because you can get $750, $550, $750 a bag in these markets. And so it's a combination of different sales channels to try and sell this through.
So the consistent theme we've been seeing with these farmland project sponsors basically is that the more integrated they can get the whole supply chain from seed to sale, right, and distribution, is it just makes it that much more powerful because you can really control your margins in every piece of that. Because as we've been learning about the food distribution process, everybody's taken their piece along the way. So the further you can sell down that value chain all the way through, the better.
So we look for investments in farming like Apple. You control the hardware, which is the actual crop and the harvest and the farming piece,
right,
all the way through the actual to the retail store in these cases.
Interesting. I was talking to another, it was a coffee farm in like Panama years back, one of the syndicators, and he was saying one of the things too, it's great, like you were saying before, Karen, where you're raising people's lifestyle that are working obviously with the farms directly. It's not like you're making money, say in the United States, and we're donating money through some charity down there and hoping it happens. You actually can raise their lifestyle to, you know what I mean? You can pay them more, you can do livable wage, all that kind of stuff, right? Directly, so you know exactly, you see what you've done.
That's very true. I mean, it's a profitable investment because again, our investors want yield. It's yield first. Mm-hmm. But I definitely can tell you, it feels really good to make these investments and see the impact, not just on our investors who are here to serve, but also, the company that's putting in place these workers that have had no health care or pensions or anything like that, and now they're getting that. They're often transported to the farm, back and forth from their homes to the farm and that kind of thing. So it's really, it's a cool impact to see.
Great. So one of the things I want to get into is when did you guys create the Global Investor Academy and you started teaching, and what made you make that next change from just doing the investment, syndicating, and going now into teaching?
Well, I guess it was probably 2016 or 17. We'd already been investing for a few years. 2016, 17, we started telling more and more friends because people started really getting curious about what we were doing, because we were doing an awful lot of travel, looking like we're having an awful lot of fun on Facebook. And they're like, what the heck are you guys doing? Like, you don't work? You're not even 50 at the time. It was like, and so, so we kind of started to share more and more over coffee, dinner, whatever, friends and family and stuff first. And then those who really got it started to take us seriously and say, oh, okay, well, can you help me kind of get started on this? And so we do a little hand holding of a few people, and we had enough friends and family really having a lot of success and just getting momentum going in their own financial independence. And they were like, you know what, you guys should really teach this to more people. And so we kind of laughed it off at first. And then finally, like 2018, we're like, okay, you know what? This is for real. Like we need something really purposeful other than traveling around for our own investments, which is, it's always great to build your own nest egg. But we felt compelled, like, wow, if we would have only known the possibilities of this life earlier, like how different that would have been, how much more time we could have spent with our kids as they were growing.
And I think for me, there was one pivotal moment for me was a friend, Rudy, who actually came to us after spending a couple of years investing in similar techniques. And he said, I finally replaced my base corporate income with passive income from these investments.
Nice.
And he had the first, and that's so powerful. For the first time in his life, he could choose whether to do that job or not, and he actually continued doing it, which was the freedom of choice, and that was huge. And and so we actually, we've helped a bunch of friends and family, and it's just been, because the thing is, when we started out, we didn't know a lot about these asset classes, and unfortunately, in real estate, there's a bunch of shysters out there. They're all looking to sell you the crappy deal.
That's for sure.
Whereas we're actually aiming to sell them the education, and then deals we invest in, we're trying to extend out. Obviously they're not, they don't have to invest alongside us, but when they see the analysis we teach them and show them the analysis we've gone through, they soon understand that they can actually do it themselves. And there's such power in that. We just wish we were around to teach us when we started,
Yeah.
So,
yeah, because honestly, the hardest part, I feel like, in our journey was the fact that there's a lot of people out there that can maybe educate you in like one class, because that's what they focus on syndicating. And so there's all these disparate pieces, but nobody's kind of putting together the whole framework, the whole process about, okay, if this is your endpoint that you're trying to achieve, and this is where you're starting, let's map out the whole process of how to get there and educate you along the way so that you're learning to fish for yourself. And ultimately, you're kind of contributing back to the perpetual learning community of investors. I mean, we look at it in some regards as an ongoing investment club.
Yeah. How does that work? How's the framework for your teaching in your classes? I mean, you guys have a lot of asset classes. Most of these aren't even touched upon with other syndicators or real estate coaches or mentors.
Well, I think one of the keys to what we do, because we learned it ourselves the hard way, was you need to work out where you're heading, what lifestyle you want before you start doing the investment.
Begin with the end in mind,
Because what happened to us was we started to just invest, got enough passive income to free ourselves, feel very fortunate, very grateful. But then we were like, okay, what do we do now? How do you fill your day? Why do you get up in the morning? And so we actually take people through a process at the very start. So, if money wasn't an issue, if you didn't have to go into a corporate job every day, what would you like that nirvana lifestyle to look like? And that's really the start of the 8 weeks we take people on that educational journey, is define that, work out how much cash you have, allocate the cash to different classes of real estate, and then go through and learn those classes and start to execute.
Interesting. So where can people learn more, Peter and Karen, about the Global Investor Academy and your other businesses?
Yeah, well, they can go to www.globalinvestoracademy.com, and you can feel free to subscribe to our blog there and reach out to us as well. Feel free to do that, share a little bit of your journey. And
one thing we try and do is, we don't bring many people in per month into our academy, because our goal is, we see a lot of people out there trying to get the mass amount of cash they can. And actually, we'd rather have a smaller group of people, but more intimately involved in understanding what they're trying to achieve and to do more coaching to help them get there. And so what we actually do is if you go to the website, you'll see a small video explaining the techniques we use. And if you're interested, we'll have a strategy session. Yeah. We'll chat to you for 45 minutes. Say, okay, what are you trying to solve in your life? What does it look like today? What would you like to look like tomorrow? And then kind of make sure that you're fit for purpose. We can help you because there's no point in wasting our time or theirs if they aren't a great fit for what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's true lifestyle investing, I guess you could say, from a truly diversified group. I mean, I do a lot of international traveling, but I have never done 17 Airbnbs in 1 year. That is one day, right?
There's Airbnb has a bit of variability in mattresses, trust me. So you're probably in better back shape than I am right now.
Well, I want to thank you guys so much for being on the show. And listeners, I'll put all the information, all the contact information that Peter and Karen have given us, and I'll put it inside the notes for the podcast notes and also on YouTube. So I want to thank you guys one more time for being on the show and enjoy. I know you guys are you're heading out this week. So have safe travels.
Thanks, Charles. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Global Investor Podcast. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe on iTunes or Google Play to get new weekly episodes. For more resources and to receive our newsletter, please visit globalinvestorpodcast.com. And don't forget to join us next week for another episode.
Nothing in this episode should be considered specific, personal, or professional advice. Any investment opportunities mentioned on this podcast are limited to accredited investors. Any investments will only be made with proper disclosure, subscription documentation, and are subject to all applicable laws. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, financial, or business professional for individualized advice. Opinions of guests are their own. Information is not guaranteed. All investment strategies have the potential for profit or loss. The host is operating on behalf of Harborside Partners Incorporated exclusively.